Welcome in Chiefs Kingdom. We got another edition of the AP Film Room here for you on a beautiful Week 16 in the NFL. Chiefs are in first place in the AFC and the AFC West. Great weekend for the Chiefs. We all saw after a Thursday night victory last weekend. And to kind of refresh you on that, because it has been almost a week, right, guys? It's been a while since that big game we saw, the overtime thriller, the Chiefs 34-28 victory over the Chargers, and what was the AFC West title game. A lot of crazy stuff happened in that game. We're here to break it down for you. And I got my guys here with me, as always, Talon and Bryan, both on the video. I'll start with Talon today. Talon, how are you doing today, my friend? We got some weird stuff going on as Chiefs fans on this recording Tuesday night. So how are you kind of dealing with all the COVID stuff going on?
Yeah, dude. Been a whirlwind today for sure. A lot of bad news with all the names popping up on that list. But hopefully, it's still early enough that they can all get back in time for that Steelers game. But yeah, right now it's not looking the greatest.
Bryan, we got Tuesday Night Football tonight. We're all kind of, we're able to kind of see. We might get it again with this Chiefs game, so be prepared. But how are you kind of dealing with the news of all this? I guess I should just, I'm sure everyone, listening knows, but no, Chris Jones right now still in the COVID protocol. Willie Gay is, Josh Gordon is, but then we also got Travis Kelsey now, Travarius Ward. We also have Tyreek Hill now all of a sudden. Nick Bolton. I mean, there's almost I'd have to have the list in front of me. There's a plethora of names. Bryan, what are you making of all this?
It's good thing it's Tuesday because there's a lot that can obviously change for better or worse. And so I'm trying not to get too consumed with the what ifs right now, because if it gets worse, then honestly, I think, yeah, we will see this game pushed back a day or two. Hopefully it gets better. We stop seeing all these positive results coming in, and they may not have their full set of guys Sunday, but like I said, if it can get a little better, give them a chance to win in what's a really big game for both teams this weekend when Pittsburgh comes to town. But just hoping for the best right now, like everybody else, I think.
Absolutely, man. No, it is. I hope everyone's safe. Hope everyone's healthy for sure. But yeah, it's a little weird. The Chiefs trying to clinch a division, all of a sudden they have to deal with this after going pretty much all season without much COVID scares. So, it's bound to happen at some point. It does seem to be kind of ramping up all over the place. But we're not here to talk about COVID. I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing about that as we are at this point. We're here to talk about the game. And, someone who had a particularly great game on the defensive side of the ball, we're going to start there, was Nick Bolton. Talon, you had a great little film review out on the site, yesterday with Nick Bolton, his performance and all the things he did. We got a particular play here to start us off tonight. Talon, what do you got here?
So right here, Nick Bolton and Anthony Hitchens both deserve some praise. But you can see at the motion, these two, you have to know exactly what's coming. Hitchens is kind of signaling to Bolton like, hey, cover that gap. And right at the snap, Bolton's shooting the gap, forcing Kelly to kind of hesitate, and then bounce it right into the arms of the help, which is Anthony Hitchens. And he's right where he needs to be. So these guys know exactly what's coming. So this was film prep, but you got to be talented to pull this off for Bolton. You got to be fast, you got to be explosive, and you have to be able to fill a hole all by yourself. If Kelly doesn't respect Bolton, he's him in this hole and probably trying to take him on one-on-one in this, because there's a little bit of room there. But other than that, Nick Bolton does a great job of shutting this play down from the get-go, and Anthony Hitchens is right there to back him up. And the D-line does a decent job of kind of holding their place. But yeah, Nick Bolton here, just the speed, athleticism, and the recognition of the play coming is very impressive.
Yeah, because you can overshoot this, right? I think that's, maybe what you're kind of leaning towards a little bit. But yeah, you can kind of maybe get a little excited if you're Bolton here. You see a wide open lane to go fill. You might, kind of overshoot it and allow Kelly to get over you or under you. Yep. So yeah, it's really that kind of him coming kind of getting to that hole quick, but then kind of coming to balance and kind of getting in a position to where, instead of just kind of flying through the hole. That's kind of what makes this impressive, right, Talon?
Yes, sir. Yeah, the ability to break down, stay square, and maintain your balance enough to even lunge and get at your ankles and help out with the tackle and really kind of force Kelly to lose all momentum.
Yeah. Yeah, Brian, how are you liking Nick Bolton's performance on Thursday? We have a few more plays, obviously, to talk about him, but just what were you thinking? The rookie linebacker, man, he just keeps stepping up, right?
Yeah, great start here in the run game, and as you kind of alluded to, he shoots that gap and forces the running back to cut into where Hitchens is sitting in this case. But even if Hitchens isn't quite where he's supposed to be, Bolton does a great job of corralling him at the legs, to where at least somebody's going to have a chance to kind of finish him off and secure the tackle, even if Hitchens isn't there. But that was good team defense, especially on the front side of that play, where the runner was directing.
Well, here's another play with Bolton shooting a gap, this time against the pass. What do we got here, Talon?
Yeah, so another really good job of recognizing what's happening in front of him. So Herbert on the play action, you can see he kind of has that ball out there, not hiding it really at all. So Bolton knows that there is no really play action happening. So he's able to track down Herbert and start after him before he really gets into the play, which helps him kind of get the jump on him. And then you see the motion, he cuts him right behind him. And the angle he takes here is the most important part, because he could easily take a bad angle here, and Herbert could easily find someone open, but he closes so fast, and he's able to take any passing lane away. If you can see here, Herbert's trying to, and he does get a little pop here, a little help, but Bolton's lane, as he's trying to turn back and throw it, Bolton's right in his face, and then Herbert has really nothing else to do but to throw it away. And kudos to Herbert for getting rid of this, because that's a tough play to make as well, because Bolton's right on him, and Herbert's not expecting that at all. So this is a really, really athletic play by Bolton, and a really heads-up play by him as well.
Yeah, Brian, what I like about this play, honestly, is how Bolton kind of attacks the ball in Herbert's hands. And even if he's not able to, get a sack, obviously, or get him to the ground, he's not allowing that ball to get out there easily. He's kind of swatting at that ball, kind of getting at it. That's what's been fun about this defense lately, I feel like, is they're being ball hawks at all times. And this is another example, Brian, of Bolton kind of just going for that ball. I mean, he could have swatted this out of Herbert's hands at some point, and maybe even created a fumble if he would have got the right, kind of swipe on it.
Yeah, super, super intentional about trying to force the issue and maybe create some turnovers that they weren't doing at the very beginning of the season. We've seen that with like Mike Hughes and the forced fumbles he's had lately. But another thing that jumps out on just looking at his play speed there, and when I say play speed, because everybody knows, those who follow the Chiefs closely, Nick Bolton's supposed to be like this kind of limited athlete relative to some of the newer day type linebackers. But you watch a play like this with the angle, like Talon was talking about, the type of angle he takes, he is booking it, man. And he looks really explosive, every bit as explosive as you need to be to make impact plays like this. And somewhere down the road, Herbert makes a great play here to get rid of the ball, but something like this could definitely lead to an interception or a fumble. So good on Bolton here, no question.
Yeah, and I would be remiss to not mention some of the coverage that helps Bolton, get this pressure. Look at practice squad guy that just got brought up, Cortez Broughton, actually, hits the fullback coming across to the flat, kind of takes him out of his route and prevents Herbert from just getting there, dumping that off real quick. And then also look at Dan Sorensen in the back of the end zone covering up Jared Cook pretty good, even as Cook tries to go to the sideline on the second part of his route. Sorensen does seem to recover pretty good and still get in a position to where if the ball was coming, he was going to make a play. So the coverage also allows Bolton to kind of continue to get to Herbert here and make a play. So, yeah, shout out the coverage, the whole defense. They really stepped up in the red zone, which obviously that was a red zone play there. That was the main theme, it felt like, from the game against the Chargers. But then also there was a few turnovers too. And here's one that Bolton forced himself earlier in the game, helped Hitchens secure apparently Hitchens' first interception as a Kansas City Chief. So shout out Hitch for getting that INT. But Talon, what are you seeing here from Bolton? Another big play Bolton made in the game.
Yeah, man. And again, just the speed and quickness that Bolton put on display against the Chargers is really impressive. Here we see him display violent hands to kind of shed a couple blocks. He look at the impact he has on 71 to as soon as he makes impact on him, look at the movement, boom, he's out of the way, and then he clears the running back really fast as well. This is just a really stackable play for Bolton, man. Just one after the other, he does impressive things, and then he gets his hand up, gets a tip on the bell, and allows his boy to make a play there. And what I love, and I put a little deal on Twitter about it, is the reaction from Bolton, just the excitement and the love and the passion that he has for the game, and just immediate just joy and passion. So yeah, just excited to see that.
Yeah, no, that I like that you pointed that out, because I like it too. And I just think about how, Willie is the one that I think Chiefs Kingdom has kind of learned, has the personality, has he's talkative, he really he's dancing on the sideline. He's one of those guys. Willie's got the personality, but Bolton's got some personality too, just maybe not as not as flagrant about it, or I guess, or as intentional about it as Gay gets excited. He lets you know about it. So those two together, though, they're going to be a really fun duo to kind of watch grow up in Chiefs Kingdom over these next 3 or 4 years. Brian, are you feeling good about Gay and Bolton right now? Is there anything from this play particularly that you're liking about Bolton's game?
Again, he looks so twitchy in a good way. I'm amazed at how quickly he's moving his body laterally. We already talked about the speed on the last snap. So, and I tweeted this earlier. This is going to be an interesting thing to look at, because we had Steve Spagnuolo saying, I believe it was last week, maybe it was the week before, that they intended to get him on the field more. Well, he played 99% of the snaps Thursday, which means that when they were in the dime package, he was the guy. He was the linebacker. So I think before our eyes, we're seeing him take over that dime linebacker role, and that's super exciting, because he's going to do stuff like that right there, and that could be the difference in, winning a playoff game or going home.
Yeah, no, you mentioned the dime package. It is interesting. I haven't done a deep look on it, but you're right. If he was in 99% of the time, you got to imagine they were in their dime defense for some of those snaps. So Chiefs Kingdom, I think, is a little relieved to hear maybe that someone besides Ben Neiman might be playing in those dime snaps, because that's how it's been since Spagnuolo's got here. He's loved Neiman in that lone position in the dime linebacker role. So we'll see how that goes, though, man. I think Willie Gay also fits the role of the dime linebacker guy that you kind of want in more pass coverage situations. So, but like you said, Bolton, 3 pass breakups. That's all of a sudden, the guy that wasn't making impact in pass coverage is all of a sudden making 3 huge plays in the game. So it's interesting to see. Maybe he's growing in front of our own eyes as a coverage defender. But we're flipping over to the other side of the ball now. We're going to talk a little offensive line. Brian broke down the pass protection for us on arrowheadpride.com this week. The film review is already out, and here we got a pass pro rep from earlier in the game. Brian, what are you looking at here?
This snap here, it's a 3rd and 10, and the Chargers, as you see, they end up bringing 5 defenders. The Chiefs, they actually help the offensive tackles out by letting Pringle and Darrell Williams each chip the edge rushers on both sides. So that helps those tackles out. But I want to focus on the interior 3 here, starting with Tooney. So look at Tooney here. He's got a linebacker who he blitzes just straight at him. He shows it pre-snap. This linebacker doesn't really disguise it. And so it's kind of easy for a veteran like Tooney, who's all pro caliber player. I focus on his technique, like first the punch with his right hand, perfect placement, perfect timing, his weight, the way that he controls his body weight is near flawless, and his feet are really, really good too, of course. So not that he's going against, Aaron Donald by any means, but he makes quick work of that particular player. And then we can turn our attention over to Creed and Trey at center and right guard, and how they pass off this stunt by Bosa and Justin Jones, who is the defensive lineman who starts out lined over Creed Humphrey. And it's kind of funny because it almost looks like an illusion with how fast they cross each other. Like you can almost not even tell it happens. But I think it shows just how how much these young players are maturing. They're trusting each other to do their jobs, and it's just really impressive as well. With, like, for instance, Creed there, Bosa comes across and really rocks him, but it doesn't phase him in a way to where he loses the rep or anything. In fact, he has complete control of Bosa once he's engaged. And then Trey, of course, too, great job with his eyes as he deals with the initial move with Bosa coming across. He gets those, keeps those eyes up, and sees the D tackle looping across. So they handle that really well. And what you have is a really nice pocket. Mahomes is able to do whatever he needs to make this throw that, of course, ends up being a really big play, whether it was caught or not by Hill, which it was. It was the catch of the night, I guess you'd say. But, yeah, focusing on those interior three with this rep.
Yeah, Talon, I'm curious your thoughts here because Bryan pointed it out, man. That is a really good rep by Creed and Trey here, picking up the stunt. Just curious your thoughts when you see this, as these are two rookies picking up a stunt, you know, and one of the guys stunting is one of the best pass rushers in the NFL.
Yeah, just you got to pinch yourself. We were just talking about, you know, Nick Bolton being a rookie. Now we got two more here, and it's just crazy to think that these guys are going to be Chiefs for a very long time. And the way that these two handle this twist is very impressive. Creed's anchor, as Bryan alluded to, barely moves on impact with Bosa coming over, and then Trey does a fantastic job of staying square and picking up Jones. And yeah, it kind of looks. It made me think of like a magic act, like they're switching places, you know, magically or whatever. But yeah, it's such a clean rep, man. It's so fun to watch, and it's something that we probably didn't see week 1 through 3.
Yeah, and also, Talon, curious your thoughts on Niang here. He gets help from Pringle on the chip, obviously, but does still kind of allow Nwosu to get outside of him. And if Mahomes doesn't get rid of this ball, then he's getting hit a little bit, it looks like. Is there something Niang could have done better here? Maybe it looks like maybe he just kind of lunges a little bit at that you know, the point of impact. Anything you see from Niang here that you want to point out?
Yeah, just that. It's not a great rep. I mean, even with help, he's still kind of letting pressure get to him. He can't let that happen. He has to make impact or make contact a little bit better, a little bit more balanced. He can't lunge like that. That can't happen.
Yeah, just you think maybe just like coming out, maybe like towards the rusher in those situations, maybe not waiting for him to get to you a little bit more, because that chip is kind of bouncing him out and kind of giving you that extra time, the second. Just kind of moving towards him. Do you think does that kind of help him a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, because the defender is pretty much able to reset and then come at him again. So really, all the chip does is delay him, and doesn't really. You know, Niang is set up pretty well to take over right after the chip. You know, the guy's pretty off balance, but Niang just kind of he just sits there, waits for him to come to him. But you know, it's what, second game back from injury, so there's probably some rust to be knocked off.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it is good to see Niang back in there. You know, I do think they're, you know, hey, we love Andrew Wiley here. He's been a clutch player for the Chiefs in terms of being good depth, but definitely would like the presence of Niang back at right tackle. So it was good to see that. And but Niang is a guy that actually went on the COVID list too. So it's just it's a weird time right now in Chiefs Kingdom. But got another example of good pass protection here, or I believe it should be good pass protection. We'll see. Bryan's about to tell us. What do we got here?
Yeah, this is just a great all-around pocket. I wanted to point out because it does happen. I feel like it happens multiple times every game at this point, and it's especially impressive here because it's a 3rd and 8 situation. The Chargers, they know they're going to get some sort of pass. They might get a screen, yes, but they have linebackers who can help take care of that. So these pass rushers are coming. And you see the two middle linebackers, they're sugaring the A-gaps, kind of showing that they might blitz. And so the offensive line has to be aware of that, you know, which one they're going to take. And of course, which if both come, that's where Mahomes has to make a decision on who he's throwing the ball to quickly. But starting from the left side with Brown, just seeing his punch, okay, this is really his game. Like when he can connect like that, I think this is how he would like to play at all times. But of course, the other guys get paid too. They're going to make some plays. But he just absolutely stuns Nwosu. And I mean, after the strike is initially made, it's already over. Nwosu's not going to impact this play in a good way. Then, whether by accident or by design, you see the two interior pass rushers kind of get mushed together, and so it's just really light, easy work for Tooney, Creed, and Trey to just make sure that Mahomes has plenty of room to step up if need be. And then working over to Niang, this is also one of his better reps of the night. As the way I see it, he does win versus Bosa here. And that wasn't always the case by any means. We've already seen that. But in this particular snap, he's able to use his arm length, which is one of his big strengths, just like Orlando Brown, to strike first. And that allows him to set that solid anchor. And then he's able to keep his body in between Mahomes and Bosa himself. Even though you still see he's got plenty of power behind it, Bosa does. But plays like this are great because Patrick, he's got so many options. He can step up and make the throw like he does. He can escape out left. He can escape out right. He has the full allotment of his skill set and the offense to work with when they block it up so well like that. So hopefully they're able to get more and more of these kinds of reps put on tape week by week, because if they do, then they're gonna make a lot of big plays and they're gonna convert third downs just like this one.
Yeah, I like what I'm seeing from Brown here, right? I mean, that punch is powerful for sure. Talon, I am curious your thoughts though. It is a little high, right? I mean, he basically punches him in the face, and just roughly, all of a sudden that, your finger gets caught in a face mask or something, that could be illegal, hands to the face, that kind of thing. I know none of us are behemoth size humans like Orlando Brown Jr. is, but I got to imagine it's pretty hard to kind of lower your body and lower your hands, at being as big as he is and kind of, it's probably hard to lower your hands and kind of consistently get your hands in the chest of a guy that when you're taller than everybody else. But, I don't know, Talon, is that something I should be expecting better of from Brown? Like, getting those hands down, or is that kind of hard for someone that big? I don't know.
I mean, yeah, Brown's not the most agile person out there. So I think he just, wherever he can get hands on a guy, that's where he's going to get hands on a guy.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think that's just his approach. But I do want to give a quick shout out just to Niang, because this is one of the better reps he's had technique-wise that I've seen, and with the kick slide and the depth he's getting, and he absorbs the initial blow and is able to maintain balance there. And yeah, so good rep by Niang, and as Brian pointed out. But yeah, Brown with his hand placement, it is what it is. I think he's that's just the kind of player he is.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead.
No, the other thing I wanted to say, Ron, is when I was reviewing Brown before the season, watching his Ravens film, that's something that happened a lot. Right. But he would never get called for it for whatever reason. But he was like, it was kind of amazing how many times he would smack a guy in the helmet, more or less, but there was never a penalty for whatever reason. I don't know if they're just looking for more of like a holding type of action on the face mask or what, but yeah, it's a
thing. I mean, and you do have to grab the face mask at some point to really get that illegal hands to the face flag. But before we move on real quick, I almost moved on without mentioning how insane of a throw this is too. Just had to shout it out. I mean, it's a typical smash concept. It's a cover two beater. The cornerback is kind of sitting both routes pretty well, and actually bails to defend the flag pretty quickly, pretty well. You'd kind of teach a corner to do it in that way, and Mahomes just doesn't care, layers a perfect throw right over the defense's head, but not too much air to where the safety can get over and hit Hill as he catches it. Just an absolutely perfect throw right here. Had to shout that out before we moved on, but we are moving on to Brian's final play to display the pass protection in the red zone here. What did you see out of this play here, Brian?
Yeah, as I was being mentioned earlier, and I showed it a little more in my article today that dropped about the pass protection, but Bosa, he wrecked shop from time to time, including a huge forced fumble that I think everybody remembers who watched the game. And when he did win versus Niang or Brown, it was typically off that edge with his speed. Because those guys, that's not really their game. And they were being asked to drop back into pass protection a lot. And I think that's tough on them when they're facing somebody at his caliber. So as the game went on and it became a little more predictable that way, Mahomes started to, I think, take advantage of this a little bit, realizing like Bosa's feeling like he can just win that edge every time. And so he almost baits him up the arc repetitively and just slides out, just as you see on this play here. And I think this is where Mahomes does his best work, is when he can get out underneath those tackles, the right tackle especially, and he keeps his eyes up. And I don't want to make this all about Mahomes and Kelsey here, but it's a vintage Mahomes to Kelsey type touchdown that was critical, of course, in the game. Now, as far as Niang goes, it's probably a little more lunge initially than you want to see, but I think he recovers fairly well, enough that Bosa doesn't just wreck the play. So I'd call it generally a wash. Bosa's set to corner at about 9 to 10 yards when you add it up from the line of scrimmage. So it's not great, but it's not awful on Niang's part. And like Talon said earlier, this was his first game back, his first start back from injury. So we'll see how he does. And I want to point out Trey here, because this is a tough play on him. He doesn't know that Mahomes is about to run out like that. And so it's easy to get called for like a hold. And we've seen him called for that more times than we'd probably like this year. But I was encouraged here that he wasn't, whether it was on purpose or not. He didn't grab. I don't know if he, really tried to and just failed, or if he's actually getting a better feel for, okay, if I see this defensive tackle take off like that, then maybe I just need to assume like, okay, he's getting out of the pocket, but I can't grab. It's a big deal because that makes sure that this plays a touchdown and not a minus 10-yard holding call. And like I said, Trey's that's been one weak area of his game.
Yeah.
A really strong rookie season is he's kind of been caught grabbing in inopportune situations like this would have been.
Yeah, no, you're right. I do honestly, I kind of want to, I don't know if you can kind of tell, Talon, because I think Bryan might have been onto something, that he might have tried to hold right there, and I think he just might have missed a little bit. He kind of does seem to kind of grab a little bit at the end there, and the guy and Joseph gets away from him. But if he does kind of let go purposefully, that is a smart play on his part, because you trust your quarterback at that point to maybe just make a play, outrun a defensive tackle, a guy, especially a guy like Linval Joseph, who's kind of an older veteran. Talon, I do like what I see from Tooney and Brown here too, passing off their two pass rushers. What are you seeing on this play, Talon, that you want to point out?
Yeah, that pick up by the left side, but really, I just want to give love to that snap. Like that is one of the prettiest snaps I've ever seen, to be honest with you. Like there we go. I mean, that's just,
you're right, man. Holy cow! Now that you mention it,
you might as well just handed it to him. Like that's just impressive as hell.
It teleports into his hands. Mahomes doesn't even move. Yeah, you're right, man. That's
Creed special.
You love that. You love that. Yeah, no,
I love it. I could watch that on repeat. Like that's all I've been doing. I've just been watching the ball the whole time.
What a string.
It is ridiculous how the Chiefs just go ahead and draft a center who honestly could already be considered the best in the league at this point. And he's played like it. So shout out Creed Humphrey. I don't know about you guys. Shout out the guys at 6'10". That song, the parody, Cody Tapp made a parody to Creed. And oh my God, it cannot get out of my head. It lives rent free in my head, to be honest with you guys. Not even gonna. Obviously not going to sing it here because that'd just be embarrassing. I'm an awful singer, but also do not want it further ingrained in my head anymore, or any of your heads. So check it out on the 610 Twitter page. Shout out Creed Humphrey. He's been good. But we are going to talk about the offense once again. This time, a little man that we kind of didn't get to see for a while this year, and that's Patrick Mahomes vintage Patrick Mahomes, I should say. A guy that when it mattered most, down 8 points in the fourth quarter, multiple times down a score in the fourth quarter, having to come back and tie it up multiple times, and then obviously go win it in overtime. He did it. He did it, man. I have a film review article out, posted Monday, just how he did it. Kind of my main theme was that he was himself. He finally was himself. It seemed like, I don't know, the defenses this year have really taken away his ability to make those plays out of structure and make those passes kind of in the downfield areas of the field because they're playing such coverage. They're emphasizing coverage so much. And now, he finally got that chance. First of all, before we get into this, we got a little time here. Yeah, I just want your guys' opinions on the fact that Brandon Staley, the Chargers head coach, blitz. He's a defensive coordinator, obviously, too, as a defensive guy. He decided to blitz Mahomes on 19 dropbacks, 38% of his dropbacks for the game, which was by far the highest rate of a team blitzing Mahomes this year. Talon, I'll start with you real quick. Does it just not seem ridiculous that to blitz him at this point? I mean, it just kind of seemed like that was kind of what helped him maybe down the stretch, was the Chargers were kind of sending pressure at him. He was able to make a play out of structure and get it to his guys. I just thought that was egregious on the Chargers' part.
I mean, I think Staley's going to do what Staley's going to do. And, if he wants to blitz Mahomes, he's going to blitz Mahomes. I don't think he really cares what anybody is going to say about the way he approaches the game. I mean, look at the fourth down attempts. He's going to do what he thinks is right. And if he feels that blitzing Mahomes is going to give the Chargers the best chance to win, then he's going to do it. So I just think I respect him for it. If that's the game plan he wanted to come in with, and that's the one he stuck to. So I think he's a good coach. I like Coach Staley. I think he approaches the game in a very interesting and different way than I've really seen before. And I like his background. I like where it came from. But, hey, best of luck to him in every single game they have except for the Chiefs, right? I don't know. Not really. I mean, obviously, we don't want the AFC West to win all the time. But, interesting choice to blitz Mahomes as much as he did. But, it was a close game. And Mahomes struggled for most of it, so.
Yeah, and that probably has something to do with it, right? He's probably kind of banking on himself, like, hey, Mahomes doesn't look good today because he really didn't for most of the game, and I'm going to try to heat him up a little more. So, no, I just I just feel like it's a crazy move. No matter how smart you are defensively. Bryan, would you have blitzed Mahomes on 38% of his dropbacks? Which, by the way, before I let you answer, he ended up going 13 for 19 on those 19 dropbacks. 9.5 passing yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, no sacks, and a 112 passer rating, which, if you're keeping track at home, is a very good stat line against the blitz. So would you have blitzed Mahomes that much, Bryan?
In hindsight, of course, it's easy to say no, but even beforehand, I would say no. And it's, hey, I just talked a lot about the offensive line. Mahomes has a history of being great against the blitz, even when his line isn't good. And now his interior is way better than it's ever been. They're smart. They handle a lot of the tricks, as I showed you on the first play. It's just a savvy group. So, even when you send these extra defenders, you're not guaranteed to get a free rusher. Your best bet is Joey Bosa, and you don't even have to send 4 rushers to get pressure with him. He just has to beat that one-on-one matchup with the offensive tackle. So, no, I don't know. But I'm sure Staley and their staff had an idea in mind, maybe just a little change-up, something they thought the Chiefs wouldn't be expecting. But the results, as you pointed out, Ron, were not pleasant for the Chargers.
Nope. And really no team that has blitzed Mahomes a significant rate at all in his career. I don't think it's ever really worked out for the defense, but this play is not about the blitz particularly. This play is more about Andy Reid having a great play design for the red zone. And I wanted to show that because I think, with this offensive line, I think we really, really want to see more of just straight power runs. And we see them sometimes, but maybe not as often as we still would like. And here, from the 1 yard line, you'd think especially this is a place where you'd want to do that. But I'll get you guys' thoughts on that later. Just the play design itself, it's pretty simple. They just want to take advantage of how many times do we see the Chiefs run an RPO and this is what it sets up to look like right here, where It's an outside zone run. And if these second level defenders kind of, give him a little space towards the flat, you'll see Pringle in the end zone right there to the right of your screen on the stop route. But then also you notice, you can't see it in the screen as it's happening, but McColl runs on an out route as well. So that's a very typical pass pattern for the Mahomes for the offense out of their RPOs. It's just a quick route to the flat and a quick stop, and whichever is open depending on the flat defender's coverage, Mahomes just hits real quick and they get 5 or so yards and then move on. You see Kelsey is usually the one in Pringle's position, and it's usually a guy like McColl or Tyreek in that flat position that can take advantage of maybe a slower flat defender that he can kind of get around the edge and get 10 to 12 yards all of a sudden. We've seen that happen plenty of times. So that's what they're trying to make the Chargers think about, right? Because they, like I said, they run that play all the time. Well, I think this was always designed to go to Tyreek on this back right here, where Mahomes gives those eyes to the flat stop combo to the right, or to his left, I should say. Kind of uses his body language to kind of manipulate 38 a little bit. 38 doesn't move much, but just enough. But he also doesn't move back in. And Mahomes is keeping him from moving back in by keeping his eyes out towards the flat and the outside over here. That body language Mahomes displays, and then the quickness to come back and find Tyreek before 38 can close back down on it, as you can see, because 38 does react and try to get his hands on it, but it's just a perfect throw. The window's there, and it's a touchdown. So it's just Mahomes, obviously executing the play to perfection. But I do think this was always designed. It was never going to be a pass out to where he was looking originally. This was always designed to come back. Because if you also see, if Tyreek doesn't get it, Noah Gray's coming open also right behind him on an end breaker as well. So this is just a really good play design by Andy Reid. And his red zone stuff is always good, it seems like. But he stepped it up for this game. And I don't know, do you guys have a problem with him going to this pass play right away? This is a first down right after the 69-yard catch by Kelsey. Would you guys have rather seen him go under center and try to just punch this in real quick? I don't know. I'll start with Bryan on this one. Bryan, what are you thinking about the play call here? Maybe it's first down and you think, hey, you might as well pass it here and you can run it another down. What do you think?
With these results, I'm okay with it. Just like when the Chargers go for fourth downs, if they go for it and they make it, it looks great, and if they fail, it looks bad. So I'm okay with it though, because it's Mahomes and it's Tyreek, and so you trust those guys. And particular, I just feel bad for 38 there, because when this ball is caught, he's just kicking himself. He got stuck in no man's land. He never had a shot. And Mahomes, he just throws a seed, and Tyreek makes an incredible catch, of course, too, with how hot that thing was coming in. But yeah, I'm okay with it being the players that it was. If it was some of the other receivers on the team, I probably would say no.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good call. And you're right. 38 is definitely a little upset about this, because you feel like he actually plays it pretty well, honestly. I mean, there's not much else you can do. He doesn't overcommit to anything and actually ends up pretty much in the passing lane. It's just like you said, man, that's a seed. Put some cheddar on it to get through that window. Talon, what'd you like about this play? Anything that stand out to you here?
Yeah, the way Kaiser White kind of, I'm not sure what he's doing there. I don't know why he just didn't come after Mahomes. Maybe the Clyde coming outside is kind of, but he kind of gets to that pocket of Trey and slow plays it. But when in reality, if he just puts on the burners and comes after Mahomes, I think this might be a different play. But no, in terms of the play call, I think this is just the Chiefs' identity at this point. This is who they are, and this is who they're going to be. Calling this type of play when you're on the 1-2 yard line. But if it was me, yeah, my identity is let's get the fullback in there and let's jam it down someone's throat. Like, we're this close, we're getting in with the big boys. But hey, at the end of the day, it's 6 points.
Yeah, you're a big fan of Michael Burton, huh? Andy Reid was using him the first drive, and then we didn't see much of him after that. But he's a secret weapon for sure. Now, before we move on, though, you're right on this Kaiser White play. But I think that's the beauty of this play here, is that it is their typical RPO action. And I think Kaiser White's just playing the run. He just thinks it's an outside zone run. He's going to fill his gap, kind of play sound football, kind of wait for that cutback, potentially if Clyde does have the ball. And he just doesn't react very quick once he realizes Mahomes has the ball. But I think it's all that RPO action, man. It all really is it's just their typical play. This is the play they run, a lot of the time. I mean, it's one of their main plays, and that action, the Chargers are used to seeing that action, and just the kind of the changeup of it is what makes this play for them. So yeah, that was a good example. But I got another play for you here, not in the red zone this time. This one is going to be more in the middle of the field, closer to the end of the game as well. These are all plays from the fourth quarter and overtime, because that's when Mahomes was at his best. He struggled earlier in the game, but this play particularly, I was really impressed with his eye discipline, man. I mean, it's very impressive for me that Mahomes was able to kind of navigate. He steps up from the Bosa pressure here. You see Bosa beats Niang pretty good. I mean, just around the edge. But as you were mentioning earlier, Brian, Mahomes was kind of understanding that Bosa was just flying off that edge. He wasn't really worried about, that inside gap at all. And so he was taking advantage of that a little bit. But as he steps up from that pressure, just watch his eyes, man. Watch his face continue to stay downfield. And obviously he looks back once he breaks the pocket. But I just like, as he's stepping up here, keeps his eyes downfield. And this angle doesn't really give you doesn't let you see Tyreek. You can kind of see him coming into where Mahomes is looking at the beginning of the play. But from what I interpret here, Mahomes is identifying as he's stepping up in the pocket. This is all happening very quick. So I'm going to say a lot of things that in his head happened in a quarter of a second. But as he climbs that pocket, he identifies that Tyreek is open over the middle. He is. He has an open window. But it is a little tight because look at Kelsey's route as actually kind of an in-breaking, kind of coming into the window that Mahomes wants to throw it. Plus, I do feel like he kind of feels that pressure. Nwosu is starting to kind of come down on him. He kind of maybe sees that in his peripheral. If you see 42 all of a sudden at the very end of here, start chasing him down a little bit. So in this split second, as Mahomes is climbing, I think he identifies that Tyreek is there, but I need to get a little more space and get him a little more space. So as he sees that, he bounces it outside, knowing that Tyreek's going to follow him outside, right? He knows that Tyreek's going to follow him and get into open space right in front of him. That's exactly what he does. But as he climbs outside, knowing that Tyreek's going to be there, he already knows that. He's kind of put that in his brain. That's going to happen. So he kind of relaxes for a second so he can see if anyone's chasing from behind him. You see that little subtle glance back. And I really like that because, if someone is coming, then if you're Mahomes, you kind of just have to eat it and kind of take the sack because you can't be trying to throw while someone's chasing you down because then it's going to be a fumble. But once he gets that clear, once the coast is clear, he just gets out into space. And as soon as Tyreek gets into his line of vision, it's out right away, and the ball's right on the money. I just really like this play from Mahomes. All that to say, it's just his mental processing while being a hell of an athlete. That's what I really liked about the fourth quarter comeback, was just how he was kind of putting together his elite ability as a quarterback in terms of the mental aspects of it, but also his elite athleticism, kind of putting it all into one thing and turning it into 3 game-deciding touchdown drives. Just a great play here, and this was also a third down, so this was a huge play. Talon, I'll let you start since I started with Brian last time. I know Niang gets flown by here, but is there anything else you want to kind of talk about from this rep?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening up the line of scrimmage, right? Drew Tranquil's coming in on a late blitz, and Kaiser White's right there, and you're not really sure what he's doing. So the offensive line kind of does a decent job other than Niang. I think that's just a poor rep by him. But Bosa is one of the elite ones, right? You don't see a lot of Bosas in the league other than, well, you have 2 actually. But no, I mean, it's not a perfect rep, but this is the type of play that Mahomes can make, and luckily that the relationship he has with Kelsey and Hill now, and they just know, like you were saying, they just know how to play off of each other, and they just know, that where the play needs to be made. And in terms of execution, Mahomes and Hill did the right thing, and I'm glad that that they're Chiefs.
Oh man, no, aren't we all? Bryan, is there anything here you see that we didn't point out already, or are we just all kind of goo goo gaga over? That was a really bad choice of words, but just in awe over Mahomes right now. Ignore what I just said.
Well, that's the thing. But hey, let's go back to what we were just talking about with the blitz. Okay, they send a blitz here. Staley sends a blitz, and the offensive line actually doesn't handle it like that well. Bosa wins. Tranquil is kind of on his way to creating pressure up the middle. But this is why that's a bad idea, because even on that occasion when you hit Mahomes, this is why he's the best player in the league still. And I'm biased, of course, we all are, but this is because he took the first play, which the Chargers won the first play. They won the play that was drawn up on the board, but he just started a whole new one. Okay. And the result is what you see. The Chiefs are moving the chains, and he does this all the time. And so, yeah, I'm going to keep bragging on him in this case, but he deserved it. And without him, without Hill, they wouldn't have won the game. So it is what it is.
No, that's a great way to put it, Bryan. I really like that. That the Chargers won the first play, because you're right. I do think the Tranquil pressure and Bosa together. I mean, that's, if you're not a mobile quarterback, that turns into a sack a lot of the time. But that's the thing about blitzing Mahomes too, is that not only does it, is it just, you have less people in coverage, but you also typically, you're not going to blitz and then also have a spy. A lot of defenses this year have been doing a delayed blitz where the linebacker is spying Mahomes, and then obviously if he does break contain or anything like in this instance, they just follow him and crash down on him, right, without ever truly blitzing at the snap. But with no spy, when Mahomes breaks contain, man, that's when he's most dangerous, and that's why everyone has a spy on him for the most time. When he doesn't have a spy, man, and he can operate without having a guy in his face as soon as he breaks the pocket, that's when he's at his best. So I think it was kind of a bad idea on the Chargers' part, and I think it was honestly bad game plan on Staley. We kind of already talked about it, but I really do feel like Andy Reid outcoached Staley here and kind of showed him, kind of sunned him a little bit. Hey, you're a first-year head coach for a reason, man. I know everyone loves your analytics and stuff and how often you go for it and your aggressiveness, but your aggressive is going to come back to bite you. You got to be able to hone it in a little better than I think he did against Mahomes. I think he got a little overconfident, I think, in his defense's abilities. But that is another day conversation about Staley and the state of the AFC West. Right now, we're talking about, again, Mahomes making game-winning plays to win this de facto AFC West championship game, which it really was. And it was such a fun game. And this was one of the best plays that no one's going to remember for the most part, just because a few plays later is the game-winning touchdown for Kelsey. But this placement by Mahomes, not only is it perfect, the thing I really want to point out here is that he is very confident, almost arrogant with his arm talent here, because, and I think you'll get a better look at it from the end zone angle. Let's see. Yeah. So he's staring down Kelsey the whole time, guys. I mean, this is not him. Does not use eye manipulation whatsoever to help out, because, and I'll go back to the wider version, the wider view of this play. That flat defender that's paying attention to Clyde coming out of the backfield real quick, he reads Mahomes' eyes all the way and actually has a very good jump and looks like he could pick this off, right? I mean, if you just look without looking at Mahomes throwing, if you look at the coverage, how it's breaking down, he jumps right in front of Kelsey. But Mahomes just makes it not matter, man. With the throw, first of all, the velocity to just push it through that window without, before it closes down. The placement of it for it to be low and away where Kelsey doesn't have to reach up and grab it and allow, a defender to come up and contest. Doesn't have to reach behind him or anything. No, Kelsey is running pretty much in full stride, and it hits him as he's running in stride and leads him, downfield, so he can pick up those extra, looks like 10, 15 more yards than he would have if the ball was maybe just a little lower, if the ball was just in a place where he just sits on it. The ball is perfectly put in that window. and Kelsey does the rest. So that's all. I just want to point out how just not only does Mahomes make a great throw, but he's very arrogant in the fact that he just stares it down the whole way, knowing that, yeah, there's probably a chance that the flat defender can jump that and make a play. But Mahomes is just going to throw it so hard and throw it so on time that he kind of, he neutralizes the flat defender's presence. Now we got some pass protection things to look at here, which I'm showing you guys on the end zone angle here. So any comments on the Mahomes throw, Talon? And if not, I'd love to kind of get your thoughts on what happened here in pass protection, where another blitz, like we mentioned, and it did kind of, gets a little bit of pressure in Mahomes' face.
Yeah. In terms of the pass pro, I think Brown does a decent job of getting hands on Bosa, and Bosa goes for that spin move, and Bosa's not really affecting anything, right? Like he's not in the play. But in terms of Joe Thuney here, I think he stays committed to Tillery a little bit too much. I think he needs to stay home, and he gets the shoulders turned, and he doesn't stay square, and that allows the underneath twist to come around, and you get a little pressure on Mahomes there at the end. And if Thuney's staying more square there at the line of scrimmage, that doesn't happen. That gets picked up a lot cleaner, like it did earlier. But one thing I do want to point out real quick is the route that Kelsey runs and the spacing he creates. Because if he just runs this straight down the numbers, this play doesn't happen, because that flat defender is able to now close that gap between himself and Kelsey. But the way Kelsey presses inside and then turns back out creates that window for Mahomes to hit it. So this is a great route by Kelsey. It might seem minute, might not seem that big of a deal, but trust me, it is, because like I said, if he's just taking this straight down the field and his spacing is off, that window's not there, and Mahomes is dumping this off to the running back.
Yeah, Kelsey is a magician in terms of how he just naturally creates leverage and gets in throwing windows in these zone coverages. It's ridiculous, Bryan. Anything you want to point out from this special play?
Well, doesn't this play just really show like it's one example of why playing quarterback in the NFL would be so hard, and it's so hard to find guys who can do it well. Because the flat defender that we continue to reference there, okay, the Chiefs are running this basic flood concept that every team in the league, every team in high school football runs.
Yep.
But okay, and I wonder if the flat defender is almost baiting Mahomes a little bit, like their division opponents. Maybe he kind of has a good idea that something like this is coming, because he's on it. I mean, he reacts to it so well. If Mahomes throws it to Clyde, okay, if they make the tackle, it's a 3-yard gain maybe. It's not great. But instead, he's able to, with that special arm talent, do all the things you've already said, Ron, and make an elite-level throw that a lot of guys just can't pull off, certainly not with consistency like he typically does.
Man, that's really interesting you mentioned the baiting of it, because you're right. I mean, this is overtime, man. It's a 2nd and 10. I don't know necessarily if that, I think it's Nasir Adderley, if I'm not mistaken, number 24. He's been a pretty good player for them. I can't imagine he's really expecting Mahomes to check it down real quick here. But, at the same time, I guess 2nd and 10, you want to live for, you don't want to go into 3rd and 10. So maybe he does check it down here. So maybe he does take that a little more seriously. But you're right, because he pretty much reacts to the route as fast as he can, right? Because to Talon's point on Kelsey's route, he releases so inside that if you're that flat defender, you don't know for sure if he's breaking back out, right? You see him press inside, so you may think he's just going vertical, and you don't even have to worry about him. So he pretty much reacts to Kelsey's out route as fast as he really can, but Mahomes just makes it not matter, man. And yeah, I mentioned it in a tweet, but any softer of a throw, any throw that wasn't on that exact timing, any throw that wasn't in that particular place, it probably either gets intercepted or at least tipped. And Mahomes just makes all three of those aspects of this throw perfect. And then obviously it'd be fun to break down the Kelsey touchdown pass. We've all seen it, or the Kelsey, game-winning touchdown catch. We've all seen it. Not much to break down though, right, guys? It was really just Kelsey catching it, turning, and all of a sudden weaving through the defense. We could have broke it down a little bit, but obviously I don't have the play up. But yeah, we're wrapping it up here. I guess let's just wrap it up on we're talking about Kelsey's route run and his greatness. I mean, was that Kelsey's best game of his career? I'll ask that question and let you guys go from there. Bryan, I'll start with you. Was that Travis Kelsey's best game of his career? It was 191 yards and 2 touchdowns, and that was his career high in yards. I mean, I feel like I've seen more impactful games because it didn't happen until the fourth quarter and overtime, but I don't know. It was his career high in yards. Was that one of it? What do you think about that game? Just in overall, just the general feel for it.
When you're talking about a guy who's went for 1,000 yards 6 years in a row, it's hard to think back to all the amazing games that he's put together and say, okay, this is definitely the best he's ever had. But I'm going to go ahead and go out on that limb and say that it is, because when we look back, without winning this game, they probably don't win the division. And when this season's over with, depending on how things fare, if they don't win the division, they don't get the bye. If they don't get the bye, then you get where I'm going with this. Like, I think we could look back on it and say, oh, if he hadn't stepped up and made some of the insane catches, runs after the catch that he did Thursday, it's a totally different season for the Chiefs as a whole. So I'm going to go ahead and give him that credit and say that this was his best game as a Chief.
Yeah, you got any definitive statement on that, Talon? You got it? No?
Nah, walk off, man. That, is what a way to win it. But no, Travis Kelsey is 100% a special player. And I think this was his best game. I mean, Derwin James was doing his thing before he went out, but Derwin James is a special player too. And that's if all things go according to plan, that's a Hall of Fame matchup, when all things are done. But, at the end of the day, Kelsey darn near put up 200 yards receiving, and like I said, won it in walk-off fashion. So you don't see very many football players, let alone tight ends, like him.
No, you don't, man. Now, we are blessed in Kansas City to have a guy like Travis Kelsey, have a guy like Tyreek Hill. Hopefully, they're staying safe, getting healthier. We want them to stay on the field. Kelsey's actually got quite a bit of a Iron Man streak going. Has never missed a regular season game in Kansas City. So obviously outside of his first year as a rookie, he had a knee surgery that prevented him from playing the entire year. But yeah, so we want to see them back on the field. But all that to say, great win in overtime for the Chiefs. We mentioned it over and over, but AFC West title game pretty much in the books now. Pretty much the Chiefs have won the division as long as they can take care of business down the stretch here, win a few more games. Against teams that they probably should beat. But this COVID stuff's going to get weird. But all that to say, I'm going to sign off here for you guys. Appreciate everyone listening. Appreciate everyone watching. Hope you guys are learning something. We're trying to teach a little bit, while we have fun. But football is a hell of a sport. Football is the ultimate team sport. And you're seeing exactly why, when we point some of this stuff out, these little details, don't take it for granted in Kansas City, man. Not every NFL team has the coaches that put together the details that this Chiefs team has, does the little things like this Chiefs team does. And when we're pointing them out, it's okay to be impressed. This isn't the norm for every NFL team. I just want to put that out there, man. I mean, Andy Reid's a hell of a coach, and he's got 2 great coordinators that are really putting together great game plans. And all that to say, man, 1 seed looking like it, it could happen. This Chiefs team's on, prime for another Super Bowl run, and it's starting right now. And we're seeing it, with these big games. We're seeing the fact that they pulled out this big game shows you that they're ready for those big postseason games as well. So great stuff, guys. I'm gonna sign off here. Appreciate everybody. Please listen to the Arrowhead Pride Podcast Network as well. Leave your comments in the YouTube comments, please. Any critiques, anything you want to hear from us, any certain things you want us to break down. We'll try to get to everything, and we'll see you next time, guys. Thank you.